Chapter 4. I had many dreams. None remembered except the last, the nightmare. Borglyn was the source of it. His deep, powerful voice was the instrument of his fear. I dreamed he was using it to describe in detail what would happen when the blazer he held to my temple was keyed. His voice rang with implacable superiority, and with reasoned understanding of my fear and helplessness. He was almost sorry. He seemed to be implying that he was going to kill me anyway. It was horrible. Then, the pain woke me up, and I found out most of it was true. It was still dark, though without stars. Perhaps 2 hours had passed. No more. I was lying. I was crumpled against a rusted sheet metal smokestack at the bottom of an even more rusted slanted rooftop. Almost everything hurt, but my head was throbbing with a ferocity all its own. I groaned and felt around to my crown for the lump I knew must be there. Found it, groaned again. I tried pulling myself to my knees. Borglyn spoke again, from millimeters away. I started, thrusting blindly away from the sound and trying to turn and face it at the same time. I fell again, hard. My chin snapped against the sheet metal with a rumbling thud. I groaned once more, wincing with the pain. I opened my eyes reluctantly, more to stabilize a wave of dizziness than to see. But I saw. Borglyn was there, on the vidcom screen. I blinked again. Another voice emanated from the grill. Staring at Borglyn, and still groggy, I paid no attention to what it was saying. Then, I recognized the voice as Holly's. I sat up painfully and grabbed the unit, soaking up every word. I didn't understand all the references. Much had apparently occurred in the time I was out, however. That was clear enough. For one thing, Borglyn's force was already on the planet, camped across the river from the dome. For another, they were unopposed. I glanced behind me at the kaleidoscopic jury-rigging of the walls of the maze rising above my perch. There was no sign of movement anywhere along their length. No gunfire sounded. Either they had finally taken my advice and run away, or Borglyn had already gotten them. Borglyn began to speak again. All the reasonableness from the dream was there. His tone was respectful, unhurried, and still implacably superior. "I won't argue with you, Dr. Ware," he said, with a patient and patronizing smile. "You and I both know your defense screens are gone. I suspect you even know how." "I have a pretty good idea." From off-screen, his voice a subtle mixture of bitterness and sorrow. I felt like he had punched me in the stomach. I grabbed up the unit and fiddled with the dials. It was suddenly very important that I see his face. "Yes," agreed Borglyn with a neutral nod of his huge head. "At any rate, you're helpless, and, as far as I can tell, alone." I gave up the fiddling. Alone. No wonder he sent no image. But in a fort, Holly was pointing out. Borglyn sighed. "True, Dr. Ware. Project domes are forts, but without screens. Medieval ones. You have no chance." "We'll see," said Holly. Borglyn sighed again. So did I. What the hell was going on? What could Holly be thinking of? "Very well, Doctor," said Borglyn with a trace of impatience. "We will see. Or you will. Observe." The image on the screen shifted. We were looking down over Borglyn's shoulder. Before him were arranged the numerous keys and screens of the Coyote's command console. Borglyn was still inside his ship, still in orbit overhead. He turned toward the monitor and smiled a cold smile. "I trust you can pick up my screens on your own," he said, sweeping a hand along the console. "Let me identify them." He tapped a screen on the top row. "That is the planet, Sanction. This next one is the dome from 1,000 kilometers overhead." He dropped down a row. "The monitors relaying these images are at my commando's camp, less than a half-kilometer from where you are now." He worked a key. A screen showed a pan of the camp itself, an area newly blasted free of vegetation, stretching at least 100 meters from tree line to riverbank. Every step had firepower. "Those are the 200 commandos that will come from you," Borglyn continued, pointing from screen to screen. "They're as well armed as Fleet can manage. Those on the right are wearing open-air battle armor. There are 30 of them, each and every one an expert." I doubted that, but was damned if I knew what difference it made. "Those large instruments in the rear, Doctor, are medium-range mortars. They're out of line of sight of your tactical blazer cannon, and will, in fact, obliterate them when I give the order. You already know something of the one on the left." He leaned forward and worked a key. The screen above it swelled as the monitor zoomed forward. "That is the hole it has already blown in your fort." I was squinting at a tiny screen, showing an even tinier image, and still the hole was clear. It was that big. "God, Holly, get out of there!" The tour ended with Borglyn's terrifyingly offhanded inventory of his other miscellaneous killing tools. He listed the concussion grenades and the fully charged blaze rifles. But more than what he said was the way he said it, as if they were just insignificant toys when he knew damn well they were a hell of a lot more. And he knew Holly knew. It was chilling. "Still with me, Dr. Ware?" inquired Borglyn pleasantly. "Yes," Holly replied shortly. Was that fear? Certainly respect. But it sounded too much to me like fatalism. Borglyn's smile dropped instantly. His manner became threatening. "And have you indeed seen?" he demanded, biting out each word. Holly was too smart to answer that one. Or too scared. Borglyn went on. "Well, I hope you do." He shrugged slightly. He appeared to be making an effort at maintaining his reasoned calm. But as he began to speak once more, it gradually slipped away to something ominous. Something ugly. "I have been frank with you. Let me be more so. I want that Kangren cell. You know that. I want it intact and working. You know that too. But consider this. We are a desperate people, Doctor. We have no fuel left for faster than light. Your refusal to cooperate means we must stay and fight you for whatever is left. And we will. One way or another, sir. I will have you out of that dome, even if I have to land this ship myself and blast the can, the dome, the hillside behind it, and you, Doctor, to glass." Borglyn paused once more. He was breathing heavily with barely contained fury. His deep blue eyes, always incongruously troubling, shone with a depth of damn near tangible menace. And one more time, it reminded me of something I always seemed to forget when he wasn't around. He scared me. Not panic, not quaking, but fear. Yes, I genuinely feared the man, more than any other I had known. I thought of Holly, in there alone and seeing it. Or maybe he didn't see it. Maybe he didn't know enough to realize how utterly lethal Borglyn was. Holly was still in there, after all. Borglyn was calm again when next he spoke. You have half an hour, Dr. Ware. Use it to... His lips curled a cold smile. To assess. Then the real world will hit. I'll watch for it, blurted Holly suddenly. But it wasn't even faintly convincing. I felt that pain in my stomach once more. Borglyn's voice went dead hard. Then watch me kill you! He roared and leaned up to key off the monitor. He stopped his hand. The cold smile returned. No, you like to see, don't you? He snarled. Then he keyed the sound off with a click and spun angrily away.